I suspect that'll be true.
Thanks, Mr. Galt. Councilman Withelder, you have a question?
Yeah, I do. Thank you, Mayor. Aaron, this is directed back to you on the sheet, the performance-based agreement sheet. You had a pros and cons list.
Yes.
I'm not sure what you were trying to relay to us under not a city organization that there would be some loss of control. Now, I mean, where does the control go to, and who is losing it? And we are losing it as an organization to go to who?
I guess what I'm saying is that some people prefer to have this be a government organization, so that would be to address that first comment. Some people just like
Just because it would not be a city organization and it would be more of a quasi-private organization, that we would not have the fundamental right to control it as a government entity?
Right. You would control through financing, and quite frankly, you'd lose the ability of like someone like me, where you come down and you may ask a question directly in my office right there. You would have to obviously call them and set up an appointment.
Okay, thank you. I wasn't sure where you were trying to go with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Littman?
Yeah, Mr. Galt, I know you got a presentation, but I'm looking again at this agreement here, and there's two items that I really have to question also. I know that there's not going to be a line item budget shown to us at least a minimum of 30 days and possibly 60 days if we are approving this. But I have a very direct question dealing with the first $95,000. Item 1 in Section 3 talks about maintaining an office within the Mesquite urban area, available Monday through Friday, normal business hours, etc., etc. What portion of the $95,000 are you contemplating allocating to that item? And then the second item is employing a professional staff. How big a professional staff? And then you comment about having fringe benefits, etc., etc. So out of that first $95,000, where's the money going?
We anticipated a salary for the professional director of up to $80,000 a year, which is pretty much in line with other comparable positions in economic development. And operations, we budgeted $10,000. And, you know, frankly, when we get started, our plan was to go out and see if we couldn't round up some contributed office space.
Okay. We do have a top floor here in the City Hall that's pretty empty. About 98% of the time. It could be open, I'm sure, Monday through Friday, which would allow you that space. So if you're dealing with $80,000 for staff, are you talking about secretarial staff also, etc., backup staff?
We're talking about some serious support staff. Somebody who's got a good sense of how to work the web, how to do research, how to look at some demographics and economics, and
all of that, excuse me, and all of that for $95,000 in the first 6 months? In other words, let's say the first 6 months, the scenario is it doesn't go right, and it can happen.
Sure.
What do you do after that, as far as getting funding? Or is it's just going to die? Because we have to give you, according to this contract, a 1-year notice, minimum 1-year notice to terminate the contract. So we would have to fund you again then for the next $190,000, am I correct?
Right.
Whether you sink or swim, it doesn't make any difference.
I'm not quite sure how we'd sink in the first 6 months.
Well, I don't know either, but you know, anything is feasible in this world. If you spend all the money in the first 6 months, and I'm assuming that you're allocating a very large part of this money if you're hiring more than just one staff person.
Well, but you're not going to spend the $80,000. That's an annual salary.
No, but you're going to spend $40,000 of it, plus if you're providing fringe benefits on top of that. To me, the numbers just don't add.
I'm not sure how you get to $40,000.
Well, $80,000 a year, 6 months is usually $40,000.
Ah, okay.
And then 6 months worth of support staff, 6 months worth of rent, 6 months worth of utilities, office supplies, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know how you do that for $95,000,
Carefully.
I would guess.
I can share with you that my last professional position was president of a $70 million a year nonprofit, and we ran it pretty much as lean as this. So I feel like it's a very doable kind of a deal.
Okay, any further questions for Mr. Baker or Mr. Galt? Kind of got it way ahead of your presentation. Hopefully, that's not,
With your permission, I would make a couple of other points. We are really pleased to be participating with the Las Vegas Regional Economic Development Commission, or Authority, for a couple of reasons. One is they can now say the name Mesquite. They have not been real good at that lately, as you all know better than I. They're going to have some serious marketing money. They have already had a trip to California, doing some recruitment. We are now beginning already to respond to some leads, which is encouraging, and we think that'll continue, and will be a real critical part of our success. They've also just received a grant from the Economic Development Administration to do what's called a Comprehensive Economic Development Plan, and that will be for the region. That gives us an opportunity to put some major things on the table. For example, they're going to come in and say, what are your real needs to do things? And we could say, well, we need a natural gas pipeline from out there at the Kern River line to bring it into at least the business park. It opens up the possibility of federal funding and grant money. So that one is a real important thing to me. We've worked with the board of the chamber, and Ken, by the way, I should have introduced our other board members, Ken Cook and Rob, good to see you, and Dave Lawwood. Ken is on the Government Affairs Committee of the chamber, so we've talked with that group directly, and I'm really seeing some signs of revitalization there that are very encouraging to me. And then we met last week with the OPD board, so that we thought that was a good conversation. We have got, I think, all of the details ready to go. We got an 800 phone number, we got a URL for a website, we've got bank account, we've identified an attorney and a bookkeeper we're going to work with. So I think we're in pretty good shape, ready to do some good work for the city. And I guess I would just like to add a kind of a personal thanks to the other board members. We've all put in a lot of time and a little bit of money and gotten some things done, and we think we're ready to go forward and do some good things for the community. So,
thank you, Mr. Galt. Any further questions from council? Question down? I don't have it as an action item, but if you want to open it to the public, we certainly can. All right, we'll open it up to public if that's okay with the rest of council. Councilman Lippman, I don't see your head shaking, yes or no on public comment. Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and open up for public comment on this item.
Good evening. My name is Rob Fuller, resident of Mesquite. Work for Mesa View Regional Hospital as Business Development Director. I was watching at home and felt I had to come down and say something. My history as an economist by education, I just think that I want to encourage council and staff, that you have a group of experienced individuals here willing to lend their expertise. We're at a crossroads in Mesquite and in this country. And you have a decision to make about the allocation of resources. I think that you have an opportunity to take advantage of the good people you've heard from tonight to help Mesquite move forward and grow in a positive way. And the investment that you may be considering to make, is it a risk? Absolutely. Councilman Rapson, as a businessman, you know risk is what it's all about. And I would encourage you to take to heart the integrity of the individuals presenting to you the state of our city and the balance of the risk that you might take. Could be worth considering. I just want to throw that out there. Thank you very much.
David Galway, I'm going to take this opportunity just to make a few comments as a member of the board. We're talking about the funding that Councilman Lippman brought up for the next year. I would love to come to the city and make it real easy for us to do this and say, instead of giving us $95,000, we'd like to have $195,000. But we're living in a practical world. So when Councilman Gustavson says, well, where's the private going to come from? We don't know yet. But when we go out and say, hey, Mr. Property Owner, this piece of property is going to suit us. How about 3 months, 4 months, half right, something? That's going to be your contribution. That's going to be a private contribution to this endeavor. Mr. Printer, Mr. whoever we're going to need help from, Mr. Reliance Connects, we need telephone lines. This is the kind of things that we're going to be going back to the private sector to give as in-kind contributions to help us make that $95,000 for the 6 months move for us. And one other comment I want to make is there was really, we talked about in previous sessions, not necessarily with economic development, but with other areas of forward thinking. You had some exceptionally forward-thinking people in city staff here that brought this idea up. And I'm going to just say, Mayor Baker, he brought this to your attention. He really advocated to somebody replace him in his job. And I think that takes a lot of guts to do that. And he's been very helpful in all of this. Thank you very much.
Sandra Raymaker, Mesquite. The chamber can't help but say that anything that's going to move business forward is important for Mesquite. And we definitely approve of you setting up this organization to move forward for us. They'll be able to do some of the things that the city hasn't been able to do, because they'll be spending all their time doing this, where the city has so diversified in so many different areas. Thank you.
Mayor and Council, I just got a very pleasant piece of news from Rob, who just leaned over and said the hospital has responded to our request for funding and has granted us $5,000 as our first request. So there is a little bit of money out there.
Coming up is public?
No.
Okay, we'll do this public comment, and as soon as we're done with that. Yeah. Any further public comment? Okay, we'll go ahead and close public comment. I don't know if they want to talk to you anymore, Mr. Baker. Go ahead, sir.
2 points. One, there was a draft budget on the June 12th, 2012 agenda item. There was a budget included in that agenda item. I don't know if you still have a copy of that or not. And the other thing, one point of clarification I did need to offer is on the cover sheet. It talks about where this is coming from within the city budget. It says that $51,000 will be allocated from Fund 1088, economic development, and 44,000 from other funding sources. What the other funding source is from a city source, but at the end of the last fiscal year, there were some savings that the city realized we underspent rather than overspent. Consequently, this request would come from those funds that were underspent.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Any further questions for staff, from council? Okay. Council, looking for a motion at this point on agenda item 15, I'm sorry. Councilman Hafer?
I just have a question on the formation of the committee right now. I think there's 3 of you that are ultimately on the filing.
4.
4? Okay.
Roger is still up in the northwest part of it.
Okay. Do we anticipate additional members that are going to hire these employees of this program?
Yes.
Mayor and council, our bylaws call for 3 to 5 members. We're actively recruiting additional members, and our plan is to put an advisory board together that would give us some additional reach in the community and resources to people that we could visit with and use their skills, and also use that as an opportunity to bring new blood onto the board, because none of us anticipated doing this forever. So, we're looking to build some good leadership skills along the way that we can step down and do something else.
Thank you, Mr. Gall. Councilman Hafen, do you have another question?
Well, a few things with the agreement. With Councilman Littman's comments, the year, I'd like to see 6 months. I understand that, it's going to be tough to get a qualified guy that's going to come for 6 months. And I like the fact that if things don't start to happen, the termination can come. I think there's some good things in this contract. I will tell you, if you were coming in for the 4 years of funding, you wouldn't get my vote. So the way it's structured with some of the, the quarterly payouts of the financial and commitment from the city, I think there's some regulation from the city standpoint that way. I will tell you that private guys can get it done. Private guys can get it done. In today's world, you look in the city, we still have pretty much our government structure in place. What's missing? Private end of things. I think the guys are on the committee, they spent the time, a lot of them spent their own money. You didn't have to do that. And quite honestly, the way we've been doing it hasn't worked. It hasn't produced. That's just fact. It's nobody's fault, it's fact. So, we've committed some substantial amount of money in the past. This is actually less than we've committed in the past. I commend all of you who've been involved. I believe as well that there will be some things in the future that will happen based on you getting involved. And one of the things that I'm gonna, if this thing goes forward, is I would hope that you folks would get involved with the Lawn Drive Association, because I think that you can bring some things to the table to help promote that thing and do some things that are just a little bit of a different concept and a way of thinking, so that we can continue to establish those things. But I commend the time, the effort, the money, and but I will tell you that I expect results.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Littman.
Councilman Haven took the words out of my mouth. I am in favor of what you're doing, by the way. My questions are questions that I needed answered, or as best an answer as I could receive at this time. But I, like Councilman Haven, seriously will be watching you like a hawk, because this is taxpayers' money, and I know we've thrown money before and the results have been less than desirable. And I'm hoping this time, as we put money in your direction, the results are very desirable. But I am in favor, definitely, and you guys have worked your butt off, I know that. And I really applaud you on that.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Councilman Hafen, do you have a question?
Well, I don't want to just think that we're going to sit back and kick you guys out on the curb and not be willing to help. We're committed to help you. I'm committed to help you any way I can. we're not gonna get in your way. So, just want to throw that out there.
Okay, and I want to add again to thank all of those who have spent the better part of a year trying to put this thing together. You guys done a lot of work, and we do appreciate all of you and all the work that you put forward. Any further questions? I have Councilman Rapson and then Councilman Gus Davison. Councilman Rapson, question?
No, again, I'm echoing what everybody said, and if it wasn't for this group standing right here that have a proven track record, that have their own businesses and understand the private sector, I would be much less comfortable about this whole process. If you could pick anybody, I would be less confident. But if you've got a good group, smart people and hard workers, obviously you put a lot of time and effort and money into this on your own, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Gus Davison?
I just want to clarify something for you. I've never been against this, but the questions I was asking was for the same reason that Councilman Lippman was asking. The questions I needed to have answered. And I think that Councilman Hafen, if I heard correctly, has a little concern too about the long-term amount of money until we see something happening. But right now, I support you the way you're going.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Councilman Haven?
If there's no other comments, I'll make a motion.
I don't see any coming up. Go ahead, Councilman Haven.
Mayor, I move that we approve the agreement between Mesquite Regional Business, Inc. and the City of Mesquite and direct the city manager to work with the MRB to implement the agreement.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call for the vote. That motion carries. Thank you.